This is the Untold Italy travel podcast, and you're listening to episode number 235.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti to Untold Italy, the travel podcast where you go to the towns and villages, mountains and lakes, hills and coastlines of Bella Italia. Each week your host, Katy Clarke, takes you on a journey in search of magical landscapes, history, culture, wine, gelato, and of course, a whole lot of pasta. If you're dreaming of Italy and planning future adventures there, you've come to the right place.
Buongiorno, ciao everyone. Are you ready to step back in time to ancient Rome? Because today we're paying a visit to one of the world's most iconic buildings, and that, of course, is the Colosseum. Stepping up to the mic today to give you the inside scoop on this incredible structure is our friend Angelo Carotenuto from LivTours. And you know what? I can't think of a better person for this task because LivTours guides take around 300 people per day through the Colosseum, Palatine Hill and Roman Forum. And they make the ruins come to life with stories and tales of heroes and villains that have walked that arena floor and shouted from the bleachers. Angelo's here to share with you how to get tickets, what to expect when you get there, and most importantly, how to make the most of your visit to, let's face it, one of the most memorable buildings on the planet. Andiamo, let's enter the arena now. Bentornato, Angelo. Welcome back to the Untold Italy podcast.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You can come back anytime, and you know that, and it's wonderful to have you back. And I'm so excited to have you tell all our listeners all about the Colosseum because, after all, it is one of the most enduring symbols of Rome and Italy. However, before we go exploring, can you let everyone know who you are and all about LivTours?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I hope everybody's doing well, that you yourself are doing well as well. So just to remind everybody, my name is Angelo Carotenuto, and I'm the founder and co-owner with my wife, Christine, of LivTours, formerly known as Live Italy Tours. We are a family-owned tour operator that sells tours and experiences, well, now in 27 different destinations around Europe with obviously a greater concentration and impact in Italy, as this is our home base. I started tour guiding back in 2004, did a lot of experience, and then founded Live Italy in 2009 and met Christine in 2012, who brought in so much more than I could ever give to the business. We offer private tours and semi-private tours of a maximum of 6 people, which is pretty unique in the industry. And we make sure that our portfolio and most of our destinations replicates every single stereotype or dream that you may have, that you want to certainly live, therefore the name, when you finally travel to that destination. So the very beginning of my entrepreneurial experience was quite easy, as Italy offers an amazing playground of dreams, wine, food, culture, fashion, Ferrari, soccer, and people want to experience all of this when they finally make that trip. So we have a catalog of experiences that allows you to, or that transforms all of these stereotypes and dreams into high-class, well-delivered services in either of these two formats, private or semi-private tours. So we've been doing quite well. We're happy with where we are, and we look forward to continue to have an impact in local communities and the industry alike.
Yeah, it's so exciting to watch LivTours expand all over Europe. But of course, everything started in Rome for you, as all the best things do. And so let's have a chat about arguably the most famous structure in the world, Rome's Flavian Amphitheatre, or as we know it, the Colosseum, because so many visitors to Rome have a visit to the Colosseum at the top of their must-do lists. But I'm really curious, can you tell us what we can expect when we go there? What can we see and do? Because especially for first-time visitors, it's really a little bit confusing. You know, everyone says, go see the Colosseum. But what actually happens when we go there?
Well, just like any of the other six wonders of the world, the Colosseum is, although it seems to be a very simple attraction to go and visit, it is actually quite a complex place. It's quite a complex experience to accomplish, both when you're in your planning stages and when you're actually finally there in front of it. Of course, that is if you're looking to deepen your experience and make sure that you come out of it with memories and stories and anecdotes and having entered it and having experienced it full round. So the first complexity is, how do I get there? How do I enter the monument? Where can I grab tickets? How are tickets released? Because it's a little bit like, allow me this, I shouldn't, but it's a little bit like a Taylor Swift concert. Okay. So she's in the middle of the Eras tour in Europe, and she just finished her Milan concert. So it's all over the news, clearly. And mind you, this is a monument that doesn't see 65,000 people a day like every Taylor Swift concert, but it sees 20, 25, sometimes even 30,000 people a day who have to enter a place with heightened security, metal detectors that need to make sure that everybody is safe inside, and that obviously has only a certain capacity and only certain parts of it visible at a time. So these 30,000 people must be organized within an 8 to 10 hour day of opening activity. They recently underwent an administration change. It's been too long. The previous administration had been, quote unquote, in power for a little bit too long. They had overrun their mandate. And COVID had made it even longer. So we were all awaiting for this change to happen. But that means that consumers and operators alike had a transition period. I am pretty confident that at least for the remainder of 2024, the transition is over, that we can confidently say that whether you're buying your ticket directly off of the Parco Archeologico's official website, when the ticket is released, if you're lucky enough and fast enough to grab that ticket as it is released 30 days before your desired visit hour of that day, that should be pretty clear. So you have to literally, like a Taylor Swift concert, if you wish to visit on the 30th of September, on the 30th of August, if you wish to visit on the 30th of September at 9 a.m., on the 30th of August of 9 a.m. Rome time, you have to be there ready to click as fast as you can to purchase your ticket so that you can do your visit. And if that's the way you want to do it, and say you're successful and you purchase that ticket and you've understood what type of ticket you're supposed to buy to grant you XYZ access, then once you're there, you have to figure it out, because there's the group entrance, there's the tour operator entrance, there's the individual entrance. You have to figure out the signs and the long lines, because alas, even people who have purchased a ticket online still have to go through that security that we were talking about, because we have to ensure safety for everybody inside. And once you're inside, then you have to sort of map your own visit. If you bought the most ordinary ticket, which is actually called ordinario, you will have access to the, we call it the first ring and the second ring, technically speaking. So you have half a circle of floor 0, basically, and then you have the opportunity to go up the stairs and do 3/4 of the circle now, because they're doing some remodeling for the first ring. And then you walk out, and you can do that in half hour and be content. Now, if you want to avoid all of that and you're looking to experience it in a way that provides you knowledge, in-depth memories and anecdotes, and you don't want to stress about buying those tickets and be there 30 days before at 9 a.m., and you want to have somebody else take care of all of these things in addition to give you an augmented experience, then you would generally go for a tour provider. And I know that the internet is confused about it right now, because clearly that transition period hasn't helped in the reputation of some tours. I know that it couldn't have been expected by the consumer, that this was expected by us, where we knew, since the transition was so quick and done in the middle of the high season, the transition happened. The news of the transition were given to us officially in November. What was going to happen with tour operators, information was given to us in March. Official information of what we were going to be getting or having or how we were going to access them was given to us in April. And on the 1st of May, the transition actually happened. So there was clearly a few weeks where, some clients had to be moved, some clients had to be upgraded or downgraded and whatever else. But I think we're in much calmer waters right now. And if I were to give any suggestion to that dreamer out there, is if you're looking to do a tour, make sure that that tour operator is a registered partner of the Parco Archeologico, that tour operator is not going to do what you would have done, which is log in at 9 a.m. and try and buy a ticket, that tour gator is given an allotment, a partnership allotment by the Parco Archeologico. That way you don't have to think about, hopefully nothing is going to happen to your reservation. You're going to get a smooth experience, both when you're buying the tour and the day of, and trust that it will be an augmented experience.
Absolutely. Look, what people really need to understand at the base level is this is a 2,000-year-old building, right? So apart from anything else, you've got a lot of logistical challenges, which you've mentioned in terms of getting around the building as well, but also in terms of getting the tickets. I know from having spent 3 weeks of my life trying to get Taylor Swift tickets, it's like I would do anything to avoid that right now. And I know in Australia, actually 9 a.m. Rome time is actually quite useful because we can go on it in our evening. But I know we have a lot of followers in the US that are getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get their tickets. I mean, it's a really interesting thing. I don't know. I think I value my time a little bit more than that, and my sleep.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And regardless, of course, your time is precious, especially in your planning stages when you're thinking about so many things. One less thing to think about, one less stressful thing to think about and be responsible for you, yourself, and your family is essential.
And one thing that I really wanted to tease out here, though, that you mentioned, Angelo, is that I think there is some sort of internet misnomer that's going around that if you're not buying the tickets direct, then you're getting, some sort of not official experience. But as you mentioned, tour operators like yourselves have a direct relationship with the Colosseum and are able to buy blocks of tickets. And it is not a bot or anything like that. It's an actual human-to-human transaction where you're negotiating the time slots that you have. Can you tell me how many people roughly per day you take through the Colosseum?
So that's the main difference, main advantage of previous administration versus the current administration. With the previous administration, just like any Taylor Swift concert, even for operators and professionals, it was unfortunately a clickbait war, a bot war, a whatever, who has the fastest finger kind of war. And everybody could have had an enormous amount of issues if that finger wasn't fast enough that day. The new relationship that is thus far being currently lived by us is that we have prearranged all of our 2024 allotment in April, when I told you earlier, to the 31st of December of 2024. So we know exactly how many tickets for that time slot, for that day, we will have. Literally, it could be 28 tickets at 9 a.m. on the 15th of August and 26 on the 16th of August at 9 a.m. We know exactly. We can micromanage our availability to that extent, which is priceless. And we have prepaid for all of these tickets. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment that consumers should trust we have made. How many people do we, LivTours, let inside the Colosseum? The average, because of the small variation that I just expressed to you, the average is about 250 to 300 people a day, guaranteed entrance via our partnership.
Yeah, amazing. And I feel very excited for those people because I've just come back off one of those tours and I had a really great time. And one of the reasons why I have a great time on those tours is because I learn something new every single time. I think I can't even remember now how many times I've been to the Colosseum. I've been underground, I've been on the arena, I've been at night time, I've gone with a ticket, but unfortunately, I would have to say going just with a ticket, this is my personal experience, is that there's not a lot of markings in that site. And the ones that are, it's very text heavy. It's not something that is easy to do when there's 3,000 other people milling around you trying to look at the same thing. So really, if you are interested in ancient history and why this structure is one of the wonders of the world, I mean, it's really, you have a really good think about how you want to experience it, because unless you just want to take a few photos, which is perfectly fine. That's not my jam, but it's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. To have a really good think about what the experience that you want to have. And Angelo, can you maybe explain the experience that you like to offer when people visit the Colosseum with LivTours?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, because the comparison I always like to give people is, imagine in 2,000 years from now, Madison Square Garden in New York is just a relic, just as much as the Colosseum is. We take ourselves out there, we probably take a selfie with it, but that would be it, right? You would want somebody to take you inside and not only tell you the engineering genius that we could have had in the 20th century in making such a beautiful stadium and theater that was used by the greatest performers of all time, but you also want to know what happened backstage. You want to know about the performances, and somebody has to bring that stuff to life. You can't read it. You can't do it on your own, especially with a relic that is 2,000 years old, that is not complete, that is missing parts of it, that is missing portions of it, that you want to understand why it's missing parts of it and why parts of it are not maybe remodeled or reconstructed centuries later, regardless of the stories of gladiators and fighters and Caesars and emperors, etc. We, thanks to our partnership, have guaranteed access into one of the restricted areas of the Colosseum, which is the arena floor. And as a former actor, to walk on a stage, it really brings a lot of emotion to me, because you get to taste a little bit of the air. You know, in theater, we say, once you touch the dust of a stage, you never want to leave that stage. So the opportunity to be walking on the arena and kind of get a sense of the sand that was on that wooden floor, kind of get a sense of the grandeur of the 80,000 people that could have been chanting your name, or the fear you could have felt against an opponent or an animal just appearing up from the stage, surprisingly, magically, thanks to a mechanical elevator, is priceless, is absolutely priceless. And I know people have many times compared the arena experience to the underground. If I were to compare them, I'd say arena is up here, because of the emotional journey that it brings you to do, the extraordinary impact that it has on your memory versus the underground. Only the arena can give you. And because of the beautiful spread out inventory that we have, we can offer a first access arena floor where we meet you at 8 a.m. and the Colosseum opens at 8:30. So we get ourselves right there in front of the metal detectors. We give you the whole introductory speech of the outside, what used to be there, the Lake of Nero, the Domus Aurea, the statue of Nero, the Colossus of Nero, the Fontane Sudoris, the Fountain of Sweat, and so forth. So what it looked like back in the day, how it was built, why it looks like that, when it was built, and so forth. And then we process ourselves. We go through security as soon as it opens, and we walk you straight to the arena. So now you've beaten the crowds. And that experience that I was just telling you about, the emotional experience, the emotional journey, the impact of feeling yourself, the gladiator or the fighter or the slave, thrown into the arena, can happen with complete quietness and calm and fresh air, if you will, before the heat. And you can take that moment to take that deep breath at 8:31 a.m. and completely absorb that moment. We have access to the arena throughout the entire day. So if you're not a morning person, you can still have a grand tour with us, both either just an express tour of Colosseum and arena access, or a full 3-hour tour where we take you to the Colosseum, the arena, and on the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill. And our last edition is, with regards to just Colosseum tours, is our tour that starts at 4:30. We call it the last entry. And we do the Colosseum and with access to the arena. And because a lot of people concentrate themselves in the middle part of the day because either they have something else to do in the morning, or they want some free time in the afternoon, or just because they're cruise ship travelers, they need to get back to their bus and stuff. By doing it at 4:30, it's quite empty. It's quite beautiful. We do the Roman Forum, and then we take you to a rooftop bar and have a refreshing drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. That's up to you, on us, whilst looking at the view of the Forum, the Victor Emmanuel Monument, and the Colosseum on your left-hand side, and freshening yourself up.
I actually did that recently, and that was fantastic. And I have to say, the best thing is that you are in the bar, and these people are very clever at LivTours. They've actually reserved the seats with the best view. So you get to look at the sun setting down over the Roman Forum with this amazing view and have your Aperol Spritz or whatever you want to have. I think I had only limoncello Spritz that day, but it was really delicious. And it was the perfect end, to that experience, because you had the arena, you can walk out there, and I love the arena. I'm a bit of a sucker for that one too, because like Angelo says, I'm not an actor, but I just feel like that's the moment that you would see, you cast your eyes around all the seats there, and you look, and the first question that I always have is, where was the emperor sitting? And, who was sitting in this row, this row, this row? And of course, we know who was sitting at the very top, because unfortunately they were not the best seats. But you find out so much information, and every time, without fail, I learned something. And the best thing on that tour that I did this time was actually that I saw Laura had a reconstruction of what the Colosseum actually would have looked like, both inside and out. And like, I'd never seen that before in terms of the colours and, all the shade and all of the different innovations that they had back then. And I don't think that there's no way, unless you were a real scholar of the Colosseum, that you would have that knowledge or the ability to imagine that.
Tour guides have an amazing talent in using visual aids. And if they're good at it, they'll have either a beautiful set of pictures, very, very neat looking pictures for you to get a sense of the before and after, or what it used to look like on that day of that year, or they have it on iPads. Some of our tours even use virtual reality to augment that experience, that sort of time travel transportation, so that you can really immerse yourself. And you're perfectly right. Not that I forgot, but, imagine yourself standing on the arena and knowing exactly where to look up, towards what direction to wait anxiously and nervously for the thumb to go up or down that decided your life. You can only get that on the arena and nowhere else.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many different little things to notice as well. Like, I remember there's some blocks that have been recently painstakingly restored where if you didn't know what they were, you just go, oh, okay, that's nice, But, there was a story behind that too. And I really love hearing about it, because when I was a kid, I loved Indiana Jones and I always wanted to be an archaeologist, but that kind of didn't happen. But I still am really fascinated by people that spend their time, really researching and digging deep into history. It's so interesting.
Yeah, you can get really close to the original and or reconstructed bleachers, the seating area, and you can really get a sense by standing there on the arena of the height between the arena floor and the first row of seats that was there for safety, because otherwise animals could have jumped onto the arena. And for further safety, there were windows out of which there were archers ready to defend the audience, in case an animal decided to climb up. And there was also metal and bronze plaques so that the animal wouldn't find a grip onto the brick to climb up. These things you can only, no book and no sign is going to, and even if you do spend your time reading and researching about this, then it's kind of hard to find it and to know where it is. Absolutely.
It's one of those places that really lends itself to stories as well. I loved, there was one that I heard the last visit I did was about an emperor that wanted to be a gladiator as well. And so, yeah, that just really got brought to life. I'm not going to say who it is because it's a spoiler alert, but it's just one of those reasons why buying the ticket on its own you definitely can enjoy it on one level that way. But if you want to have a really deep experience, then I really think you need to do a tour, and one that's available in a small environment, because you don't want to be one of those ones following around a flag, because you can't ask questions and you can't, really find out what you want to learn about it either.
Nope, you're perfectly right. And that's why even for the tour skepticals, we are a firm believer that the LivTours product is perfect. So it fits a little bit of everybody. It fits the person that is really curious, really interested, and wants to have full attention of the guide. So maximum 6 people allows questions and dialogue, and that person doesn't feel like they're just part of a big, large group of 20, 25 people where they have no impact on where the conversation is going. They can't express or solve their curiosities. But it also works for the people who are like, meh, I've never dreamt about being cattle herded behind a dirty flag and wearing headsets I can't hear my guide with. It works perfectly, because then at that point, there's no other way for you to feel more engaged and make sure that your money is well worth. And even if you're not history buff, you have such a one-to-one conversation or closeness to the tour guide that you can give me the money back if you're not getting transported passionately, if you're not getting goosebumps when a few things are being said, because you're so close to the tour guide who not just knows a lot, but also says it with passion and emotion, with great storytelling technique. And at that point, you come out of it and you're hooked, hopefully. And you're like, well, I wasn't a fan of tours and tour guides, but if I ever have to do it again, I'll do it in a group of 6 people. That's one of the reasons why we believe we are as successful as we are, because that's the winning formula, in our opinion.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I know you have a background in acting, and that entertaining your guests is a big part of what you do. It's not just a delivery of facts. And so this is really why I really appreciate working with you and joining your tours, because it's always engaging, and I'm never thinking, oh, when are we getting out of here? Because I've been with my children and we had the VR headsets, and I've been with quite a few different guides actually. And really they all bring something so new to that experience. And it can be, for a lot of people, it can be quite a big investment, but I think what you've got to do when you're planning your trip is really work out what's the thing that's going to give you the biggest buzz, and it might not be doing both the Colosseum and the Vatican museums. Like, you really got to look to yourself and think, what's the thing that's going to give me the biggest joy when I'm in Rome? And, the Colosseum is probably a bit more, I would say, accessible maybe for younger children, because you can get that imagination firing as well. And I know you take kids there too, don't you?
Yeah, we have a wonderful child-friendly tour. We created a character, and the character's name is Liv. Liv is 12, 13 years old. Liv dresses smart, has red long hair, and he's a character in these booklets that we created for every major museum that sometimes is scary to families to bring their children to, anything from the Uffizi to the Accademia to the Doge's Palace, the Vatican, the Catacombs, the Louvre, Versailles, British Museum, and so forth. And so we've made sure that there is engagement guaranteed with riddles and games and a story and something happening to Liv, that the tour guide then takes the children, brings them a backpack full of the booklet and some markers and a final prize that they don't reveal. And they open the book together and they see what is Liv there to do? Like, what happened? I lost my cat inside the Vatican Museums. Help me find it. I'm looking for these rocks in the Roman Forum and Colosseum. Help me find them. And then there's a series of games and riddles that are perfectly placed with the tour itinerary that the tour guide helps them do. And sometimes it's beautiful to see the children get their marker and sit down on an ancient rock and try and solve that riddle with the help of the tour guide. And time flies. Parents are just as entertained, both by watching their children learn, but also because whilst the children are doing them, the tour guide can take some time for the parents as well. And by the end of it, everybody feels completely satisfied. This is a memory for life. The money was well worth, and they got a prize that they can take home and go show their teammates or their schoolmates and, say, oh, look what I found. Look what I helped Liv do this. And they bring the book back home. So yes, absolutely. Children's tour. If you have a family with children between the age of 5 and 11, 5 and 12 is definitely the way to go.
I think, well, my son in particular, he was really captured by the Colosseum. He came home and he read up all about the different gladiators, and he's got a favourite one, the one that throws the web. I don't know what that one is, but he's got, I don't know what it is about young boys. They seem to know dinosaurs and gladiators, so all the names. So, Angelo, if you could choose the one experience you would like to have, or the one memory that you would like people to have from the Colosseum, what would that be?
The feeling I would want travelers to have after exiting the gate of the Colosseum is that they feel complete, that they feel they've gone into a journey of space and time, that they could reimagine themselves walking inside the Colosseum with a formal toga and their sandals and with a little ticket, that they were walked into their seating, or that they were gladiators shown the way through the gladiator gate into the arena as 80,000 people are chanting their name. What I don't want travelers to feel like is, oh gosh, I'm in Rome, I got to go do that, ticket or not ticket, I'm just going to go there and take a picture, and then they leave and they have literally just exploited the monument. This is what you and I have talked about behind the scenes. It's about slow travel. You don't have to feel like you're going slow. You could go at 100 miles an hour when you travel, because you have limited time and your budget, and you got to go back home and work perfectly. Slow travel means that you're taking the time to enjoy and appreciate the local culture. That's what slow travel means. And that you are directing your time, your attention, and your resources to make sure that your presence there can be brought home and can be valued for its emotions that it arose. If you are just coming through, taking a picture because you want to post it on Instagram and then leave, that's exploiting, and you have no clue where you were, what you did. And when you look at that picture in 10 years, it'll make no sense to you. So make sure you fulfill those gaps and use that monument for yours and your family's sake for generations to come.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one thing that you just said then, which is so true and so important, is that this is not just a photo opportunity, actually. Rome is Rome. It's been there for thousands of years, and so many incredibly important things have happened in that city, of which the Colosseum is a symbol of, really. So to kind of ignore that history and all of the legacy that it's brought is a little bit disrespectful in a way. Well, it's not a little bit, it's actually a lot disrespectful. And, even though Italians sometimes look a bit chaotic and there's stuff, crazy stuff going around, they know how to preserve 2,000-year-old buildings, and they knew how to build them. So you can take it from lots of different angles, like the architecture, what happened inside, why it was built in the first place, all of the political ramifications of it. There's so many different angles to take, but choose one and go for it and really understand it. Such an important message. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So thank you for taking us inside that magnificent building and that symbol of Rome that we all love. And as always, I'm thrilled to have learned a few things, as I always do, from you and your team. So, Angelo, how can our listeners learn more about LivTours and book a Colosseum tour with you when they visit Rome?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for taking the time and listening to us today. You can contact us by visiting our website, livtours.com, livtours.com. You'll find all the tours I spoke about and many more with regards to the Colosseum by just looking for Rome tours and then looking down the long list of possibilities depending on budget, time, interest, and so forth. If by any reason you need more assistance than just going onto the website and buying, there's a contact page, there's a contact form, there's a wonderful team of agents and advisors, we call them customer service, who work uninterruptedly, literally, and will answer the phone, WhatsApp, iMessage, phone call, email with rapidity and speed to make sure that they can help you make the right choice.
Amazing. Love going on tours with you. And thanks for joining us, and hope you come back soon.
Well, thank you for having me, and we'll talk soon, you bet.
Okay. Thanks, Angelo. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
In the words of the Senator Gracchus from the film The Gladiator, the beating heart of Rome is not the marble of the Senate, it's the sand of the Colosseum. And despite the centuries, there's no mistaking the Colosseum's grandeur and place in the hearts of Romans. And so, of course, if you've never been inside and have even a passing interest in the history of ancient Rome, you must make a visit there a priority for your travels in Rome. Personally, I think the Colosseum warrants many, many visits, but I am your friendly, biased history nerd. When I first visited the Colosseum, I don't even want to think about how long ago, I went in with a ticket that I bought at a ticket booth out the front, and a lot has changed since then, and I guess so have I. These days I crave more insight, more stories and context from whatever I see and do. And so I'm delighted to regularly visit Italy's iconic monuments like the Colosseum with the engaging guides from LivTours and soak up every last anecdote and story that they share. You can find a link to LivTours and all the details of their Colosseum tours and experiences in your podcast app and the episode show notes at untolditaly.com/235 for episode 235. Grazie. Thank you to all our wonderful listeners for your ongoing support of Untold Italy. I do hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, then we would absolutely love it if you shared it with your Italy-loving friends and family. Grazie to all of you who have already done this. It is very much appreciated. That's all for today. Next week, we're taking another magical trip to Italy via the sound waves. But until then, it's ciao for now.
The Untold Italy podcast is an independent production. Podcast editing, audio production, and website development by Mark Hatter, production assistance and content writing by the other Katy Clarke. Yes, there are two of us. For more information about Untold Italy, please visit untolditaly.com.